Smile.
Hi, this is Tom. I've been growing abalones and selling abalones, California farm-raised red abalones, throughout the U.S. and actually throughout the whole world for about the last 30 plus years. And as a result of that, I've had a lot of people over the years ask me, how do you take the abalones out of the shell? How do you trim them up? How do you pound them? How do you prepare them? How do you cook them? So what I thought I'd do is put together a little video to show everybody how that's done, since I've literally done tens of thousands myself over the years. So let's start off here. Here's 2 quarter-pound sized California red farm-raised abalone. Now, this is the most popular size that I currently sell with my company Abalone To Go. So the items that I'm going to use here, let's just go through that before I take this abalone out of the shell and show you how that's all taken. Let me just show you how everything I have set up here. This is the kitchen knife that I use to remove the abalone from the shell. Some people use a large spoon. Some people use an oyster knife. I prefer just to pick up a kitchen knife. I put a little bend in it, and this is not sharp at all. I also have a little paring knife that I'm going to use to trim up the abalones. And I also have a meat tenderizer. This is the type I prefer. You can find them on Amazon for about $20. They have the little tines for breaking up the muscle fibers, and it's a flat surface, so when I'm pounding the abalone, it's going straight down. A lot of people that use the smooth surface type of mallet, makes it a little more challenging. You might have to put it into a wet kitchen towel or a plastic bag, because when you hit it, the meat tends to slide right off. So this is the type I prefer. But you can certainly use any other types of things. I've even seen people using cast iron frying pans in the past to hit them. But most of the time people will have some type of a mallet or some type of a way to tenderize the meat. So the other thing that I'm going to use here, I have a little bowl of fresh water that I'm used for cleaning up the meat after I take it out of the shell. I prefer, in the way I'm going to cook my abalones today, I'm just going to use a little bit of, I like the seasoned Italian breadcrumbs. A little bowl for putting that into or putting it on there. I usually cook it a little bit of olive oil for the nutritional value I can get from olive oil, and my frying pan. So let's start off with step 1. How am I going to take the meat out of the shell? You get a nice live abalone here. Now I'm right-handed, and where the head is the part that you need to remove. Now you can find the head and the side of the head where just follow the holes down, and this is where the head part is, and that's what we want to take off. Okay, we're going to need to trim that off. Step 1 is to figure out, you want to turn that around there, and again, I'm right-handed, reverse this for left-handed people. What I want to do is I want to take my knife, and I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to slide my knife right between the meat and the shell. And there's a muscle about the size of a dime that's right here. So I'm going to slide it very simply along the shell as I hold it nice and right across there, and that's all it takes to separate the muscle from the shell. Now to take out the meat, I came up with a little way over the years. Just pull back the meat here. I just take my thumb, and obviously I have no fingernails, so it's not even that sharp. I just pull back the meat. I put it right between where the guts is, and just simply push in a little bit right there. You can separate that, and the whole meat just pulls right away from the guts. Now I have that piece of meat. And let's repeat this whole thing one more time. Take my abalone, the head again is coming down towards my other hand. I take my knife, slide it right between the shell and the meat, right here. That's done right there. That's all it takes. Slide it, put my thumb right in here between the guts, push in a little bit, comes right out. Pull it right out. Now I have the guts left in the shell. Now I have the meat, and the meat is relaxing. Sometimes people like to remove the meat from the shell, leave it in the refrigerator overnight just to let the meat naturally tenderize a little bit more, or you can just prepare it fresh. Now, to trim up, I want to take out the head portion. It has the hard little, called a radula, which is the feeding structure for the abalone. I also, this section right here, the cap, I also find sometimes be a little bit tough. And it's a little bit easier to pound the meat by just taking that off. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take my paring knife, I'm going to slide, I'm going to cut right along where the cap is, and I'm going to cut down a little bit and just cut off that little head part right there. And that's it, right there. So to repeat right here, turn around, we're going to cut the cap, Then turn the knife down a little bit and it cuts off the head part. So now I've removed it, and that's what we end up with, is a nice piece of flat meat. Now, sometimes I'll just pound the meat from here. Other times, if I'm want to prepare something that I know is going to be really, really tender, the only portion that I found to be a little bit chewy over the years is this little, what they call the abalone trim right here on the side. The black part right here. It's not all the black part. That's just pigmented and gives it actually a little bit of flavor. But if we want to take that off, I'm going to show you how to do that. And again, you can either take it off or not take it off. But it's just a few cuts. So I'm just going to trim here, take off a little bit of that trim there. Again, go to the other side here, take a little bit of that, a little bit of that. I'm going to flip the abalone upside down. Again, just push, hold the meat down and just trim off just where the little trim sticks out. See where it just sticks out there a little bit. So we're just going to cut that part out right here. A few little trims on each one. Now again, there's a lot of the black still on there, but I think that's actually flavorful. And now that I've taken off the trim, I know that it's going to be all very, very tender meat. So I'm going to move that away. Again, on the second abalone over here, just cutting off the trim again a little bit here. Just move it around. Just takes a couple extra minutes. And your people eating the abalone will definitely be very happy and with the tenderness of the product. So just cut that, just a little bit of trim. So just losing a little bit of meat, but I guarantee you. So I'm not taking off all the black. You don't have to cut off all the black and work and do all that. It actually, like I said earlier, it actually I think adds a little flavor. So now I've got those two pieces of meat here. Okay, we got a little bit of fluid built up, it kind of splatters when I hit it. So what I usually do is I keep some paper towels handy here, just to kind of pick up the meat a little bit. I'm going to kind of dry that a little bit. Now I've got a bowl of water here. You can take it over to the sink. I just kind of wash up the meat a little bit, you know, just in case there's nothing, little gooey stuff might be left on it or whatever, or a little bit of grit on the meat itself. I don't worry about taking a brush and scraping it. You don't really need to. Anything really comes off. It's pretty minimal. Sometimes I don't even worry about that step, but it's just a little extra step that could potentially help, just to take off any type of little grit or anything. You have two nice pieces of meat left here, and again, I don't want to have it splatter too much, so I keep my paper towels right here, and I try to keep the meat and my cutting board dry, so when I'm pounding it, I'm not having splatter going all over my kitchen and have to clean that up later. So I've done this so many times over the years. I've kind of have my little tricks that I like to use. So I'm going to set that aside here now. Now I'm going to go to my tenderizing part. Again, so I'm going to have where I cut off the cap, I'm going to have facing up. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, rather than hitting it really hard, what you really want to do is just go with a handful of lighter tapping on each side, and that's just to basically, again, so the tines sort of break the muscle fiber and sort of flatten it out. You see how the abalone right now kind of sticks back up a little bit and stuff like that? So basically what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to flatten it out and just loosen it up a little bit with a handful of little hits on each one. So we're going to start with this first one here. Again, I'm just sort of hitting it around a little bit. And that's about all it takes right there. Okay? Let's do that again to this one over here. Okay. Now I'm going to turn these so you can see the little pock marks it makes on the meat, and then I'm turn it over on the other foot, what they call the foot side now. I hit that a little bit, kind of loosen it up. Okay. Now, the meat's nice and tenderized, and that's all it takes. Now I'm going to come over, I'm going to get my oil going, pouring a little bit of olive oil here into my frying pan. Now I like to get my heat to about a medium-high heat. That's what I would call it, whether you're using a gas or an electric stove. So you don't want to cook it too fast, you don't want to cook it too slow. So I've got my meat nice and tenderized now. So what I'm going to do is as my oil's heating up over here, I'm just going to kind of dry this off a little bit. I don't want to have any water residue left when we put it in the oil frying pan, it'll just kind of splatter and make, again, another sort of a mess for you. So I just kind of clean that up. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to, for my little bowl, I'm going to put in my little bit of my Italian breadcrumbs here. Doesn't take that much. It's not that much of a coating. It's just a little coating. And the nice thing about it is when I'm putting these things together here is it's cooking. You can tell when it's cooked, because usually when you have the breadcrumbs that are nice and golden brown, that means it's time to turn it, or if it's on both sides already, it's already done. So again, I'm just putting a little bit on, a little coating on each side like that, and there's your meat that's ready to go. One of the things that you should also know about the abalone is that they are a best choice by the Monterey Bay Aquarium Seafood Watch Program. They're best choice because the abalone farms produce the abalones in a sustainable way. They're fed a variety of different natural seaweeds, so you're getting something that's not given artificial food of any type, no antibiotics or anything else for the abalone. They're just grown in a very natural setting. So now I'm going to come over here. I usually just kind of test my oil a little bit. Should be close to about ready here. Again, depending upon the heat, we're looking maybe 30 to 45 seconds per side. I'm going to come over here, put it in. Get my heat up a little bit here. We're just going to let that cook. Probably the oil could have been a little bit hotter, but if you put it in with too hot, as you probably know from frying abalone, you get a lot more of a splattering from the oil. So this way, it's not too hot, not too cold, so to speak. Want to get it just about right there. We're going to let that cook for just like pretty quickly. So when you're serving your food, to have the abalones timed just right, you really want to have the abalones when you have the rest of your meal all pretty much prepared and ready to go, because once your abalones are ready to go in the frying pan, they're going to cook very quickly and be ready to go. So I've got my fork here. I'm going to turn it over. My abalone here. You see the side's cooked. It's like a golden brown a little bit on that side there. And turn it over and let it cook again on this side a little bit more here. So we're going to give that another 30 to 45 seconds per side. And that's all it's going to take. Some people like to put lemon wedges on the plate. The other thing you can do, just to go over, some people will take out the abalone shell. They'll take the guts out. I just take my knife here and just kind of take the guts out. You can wash up your shell a little bit. It's fairly clean. Dry it off here. I don't get my abalones too far cooked over here, so I'm going to come over here and rescue my abalones out of the frying pan. And come back over here when we get these guys out. So I've got my abalones nice and cooked here now. And then I have an abalone shell. Sometimes people like to come over on their dinner plate, especially the restaurants. They really like to take their abalone and you might cut it up into pieces. Perhaps you'll cut it up. And I've done this at appetizers, at social gatherings. We might put a toothpick on each one. And put them on the plate here. You can, so it's right on there like that. You can either put that right back on the plate, or you can leave the piece whole, and put it right in the shell. Or sometimes people will put these around in a plate and then put some of the shells on the outside and around. The other thing I might mention, people always find as an interesting little point about abalones, is the different types of algae that they eat. You see the red here, that means they have a lot of red algae, and the darker green tends to come from the brown algae. So the type of shell coloration will tell you the type of seaweed they've been eating. Variety of seafood is a very nutritional product. My current company, Abalone To Go, sells abalones wholesale and retail. If you want to find out more, visit my website, Abalone To Go. Tom Ebert out.